Hi, welcome to Module 8. This is the introductory for the portion of these modules that's focusing on how monotheism, how religion and empires worked together to create a sort of social network, but also pulled apart some of those social networks, right? So there was this sort of complicated, conflicted relationship between culture and empire, or the maintenance of power under specific empires. And so this portion, In the Shadows of the Crusades, we'll have some videos through the Khan Academy, a great resource. You can check out more material through them. I think I've used some of their videos before this in previous modules, and I may use some later on. But yeah, this is a really helpful resource because it comes at some of this history from a less Western perspective and more of a world perspective, especially one anchored the center of the world at this time. We won't have time to cover the Crusades at length, right? We're just looking at what happens in the aftermath and how Christianity and expansive Christianity and Islam, expansive Islam, how they butted heads in the Levant, in Jerusalem, and so we'll be. This is what happens after that. There have been armies assembled through the work of the Pope in Rome, along with some of these rulers who have the divine right of kings to call a religious war upon people in the Holy Land. And then from the other side, people living in the region of the Eastern Mediterranean who have a claim to this land also, right? Islamic empires that have been controlling the area for some time. So this conflict resulted in a block of Sunni and Shi'i Islamic peoples living in the Middle East and having control or a monopoly over a lot of the exchange of goods in that area. And this was something that Christians, especially lords, a single lord with land and people living on them in a feudal state, that they wanted access to, right, this commercial interest. And so what we see is a conflict over transport lines. The modes of moving goods are monopolized by one group of monotheists and another group trying to subvert them or circumvent them. And that's what happens with the moving west and the discovery of the Americas for Europeans. Historians have for some time oversold the idea of religious war at this time because when you actually get down to the ground level, as you may see in the readings or in the lectures that I've supplied you with, that there was actually a lot more complicated relationships going on. Christians were working for Muslims and vice versa in some of these exchanges. And the story that we are told or have been told in the past, that has been told in the past, focused heavily on how diametrically opposed these religions were, but on the ground level, there was a lot of exchange of goods, and there were Christians that after circumnavigating there were Portuguese working alongside or in similar areas as Muslim traders. So I don't want to oversell this idea of a religious conflict, but empires could use a monoculture, a monotheistic ideology to their advantage. And so pay attention to that throughout this portion. What were the benefits of religious or cultural cohesion in an empire? How did Muslims differ in their core beliefs? Because within those faiths, Sunni and Shi'i breaks, Sufi breaks that happen in Islam are mirrored by what happens with Catholicism and the Reformation, the Counter-Reformation, and the Protestant Reformation. So what happens when a monoculture attempts to unite a large group of people under one uniting idea? Yeah, pay attention to that throughout these lectures, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.